Welcome to the Health Angle Podcast with Dr. Mike Headlee and Dr. Gordon Fimreite, where we'll be exploring different angles of health to achieve the best version of yourself. Now, here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Gordon.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mike, and with me is Dr. Gordy. Welcome, Gordy.
Hi, welcome, Mike. Welcome, viewers. This is the Health Angle, where we take a different angle of health each episode with the goal of sharing all the information we have, along with some tips to optimize our viewers' health potential. If you're new to us, please subscribe, please like, please follow. We also enjoy comments as well. So, Dr. Mike, I was thinking about this subject, and I think it's underrated. I don't think there's enough attention. And we already know that gut health has been on that. By the way, that's our subject, is gut health and how we can boost our gut health. But it's been around for thousands of years. Look at Hippocrates. He's considered the father of modern medicine. And he even said, quote, "All disease begins in the gut," end of quote. So it's been around for a long time, but I just don't think there's enough attention. And I thought about this, and I think most of the people in nutrition or the people that are practitioners in natural health are the ones that are bringing gut health to the forefront. Usually in the medical profession, they wait till symptoms arise, and then they can diagnose a specific inflammatory bowel disease or some other condition like that. But there's a whole lot more to that, and we'll explore that. But what comes to mind, Dr. Mike, when you think of gut health?
So when I think of my gut, people think my gut reaction or my gut feeling, and they think it's all about where the food ends up and then it exits the body. However, our gut is responsible for 70% of our immune system. Our gut creates all these neurotransmitters, and we'll talk about how mental health is impacted by healthy gut or poor gut health. And so what shed the light on it, I just recently, Netflix released a new series, Dr. Gordy, on gut health. It's called Hack Your Health, The Science of Gut Health. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have not seen that. That's on my list.
Yeah, when people get punched in the gut, or but they really why does everything start in the gut, or why is it so important? Well, our large intestine contains 100 trillion good bacteria, and that's called our microbiome. We have a microbiome in our mouth and on our hands, but it's nothing comparable to 100 trillion good bacteria in our gut. And it just helps maintain healthy bowel function, helps create neurotransmitters, and it's part of our immune system. And so everyone starts with their own unique microbiome. And what chiropractors in general want to do things natural and holistic. That's why if you have a natural unassisted delivery of a child, they get the mother's microbiome mixed in with them. It's kind of gross. They get some poop, kind of mixed in with them when they're delivered. But that's how they bond with the mother and the microbiome. And when you nurse, you get the mother's probiotics, and we'll dive into that. So it's really critical from when we're in our mothers, but also that natural delivery. If we have a C-section just because it's convenient, that's not good for gut health. That's not good for our microbiome. And so that's what I think about a lot when I think of someone's microbiome. How about you?
Well, first of all, I want to define what really the gut. I know people think, oh, my gut reaction is this. And maybe people think of gut as being the stomach, which is true. So what we're referring to as gut health is really the digestive tract, especially the intestinal tract and the stomach. And 90% of digestion takes place right in the small intestines. So nutrients are absorbed there. So obviously you want to eat healthy foods, because ultimately those healthy foods are broken down. The first thing we do is we chew our food. We get enzymes released to further break down those foods. And really what foods are meant for are to break down so we can utilize those nutrients. And we want those nutrients to ultimately be absorbed, 90% digested in the small intestine. So we want those to be absorbed, the nutrients absorbed in the small intestinal tract, ultimately into the bloodstream to bring to all the systems and organs of our body. So the organs and systems of our body can thrive and make us healthy. And that's why we want to eat healthy foods so we can thrive and be as healthy as we can. The bottom line is, like you used the term microbiome, that is nothing more than a collection of all the microbes, all those tiny little things all around us, such as bacteria, fungi, virus, and their genes. And they naturally live on and inside our bodies. So it's always, we want a balance of good versus the bad. And we need that healthy balance. Because ultimately, if you're not getting a good balance, or you are getting a better balance, that can have a direct impact on our overall health and the maintenance of our health. It can have effects on anti-aging. It can aid in digestion and absorption. And then, like you said, Dr. Mike, scientists have estimated that 70% of our immune system lives in the gut microbiome. So it's so critically important. 70% of our immune system in the gut. I mean, why is the immune system why is that so important to us? It fights all bacteria and bugs and the colds and the flus. And the worst case scenario, it even fights cancers and autoimmune diseases. So we absolutely need that. So Dr. Mike, what do you think we could share with our audience, like some of maybe the first signs and symptoms for gut health is?
Bloating after a meal. If you're constipated, it's gut health. If you go to the bathroom, have loose stools or more than 2 or 3 stools a day, that bowel movements, that means you have to dive into your gut health and search it. So bloating, gassy, diarrhea, constipation, skin issues. You really got to look at the gut and not say, oh, it's just some acne from greasy skin. No, it's coming from inside. Brain fog, lack of clarity, poor immune system, frequent colds and viruses. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. But those are obvious ones. I mean, you can't just say, oh, I'll just take Tums and Pepto-Bismol and whatever and calm my stomach down. No, you got to dive deep into the gut health.
I know you can add cramps, and if somebody has like real food sensitivities, that's another one. And like I said at the beginning, a lot of times these inflammatory bowel type of diseases or conditions like Crohn's or colitis, I mean, usually the medical response, I know there's more attention on this, which is for good reason, but usually they wait till it's advanced before they can actually get a diagnosis such as Crohn's disease or colitis. But when someone starts showing those symptoms like Dr. Mike was showing, that's a sheer sign that, hey, we need to take a serious look at your gut health. And I know some of the, maybe ways to see if there's gut health besides symptoms is there might be some markers, bowel inflammatory markers in a blood study. And then of course there's leaky gut syndrome, which is a whole interesting dynamic. Leaky gut syndrome. I mean, what can you say about that? I think when I think of leaky gut syndrome, Mike, I know it's true. You can get some bad bacteria and toxins that go through the system and can get into the bloodstream and present an inflammatory response. And also, if your body just isn't breaking down the foods that you do eat and just breaking them down to a nutrient level, and you're digesting this food without properly breaking it down, and it goes through your system, and all of a sudden your bloodstream has to deal with this. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's not a nutrients. It's more like a food particles, and those have to be taken care of by the immune system. The immune system responds, and it's an inflammatory marker. And so that can be a serious condition for some people if it's left long enough. A 2021 study published in Cell found that adding probiotic foods to your daily diet is one of the best way to improve your overall health.
Yeah, very good. I don't know about your patient base or clients, Gordy. I hear frequently that they go to their medical doctor and say, I think I got some gut issues and bowel irregularities and things like that. And so they go, oh, there's no such thing as IBS or irritable bowel or leaky gut. I said, oh, it's just because they don't know about it. You can go to pubmed.org. There's over 30,000 studies about leaky gut. I mean, it doesn't mean that doctor has to know it all, but you have to know it's relevant. It's a serious thing. And so I thought we'd maybe segue, since you said you could take probiotic foods and stuff, maybe we could tell our listeners ways they can enhance their microbiome. You want to take that, or should I?
I think it's a great time to just start out what people can do to be proactive with just getting a good bacteria base, norma, flora, more good bacteria than poor bacteria. And one of the first things is a diet. Now, sure, rich in fiber is good. Fruits are good. Vegetables are good, but fermented foods, this promotes really a healthy gut. Fermented foods, what do I mean by that? Pickles, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, and then apple cider vinegar. I know I'm in the habit, Dr. Mike, in the mornings, I'll take a little small teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, organic, and I'll add that to a little bit of water and drink the water. Now, I take probiotics too, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But I mean, what you should do is avoid these processed foods. Any foods that weren't around 100 years ago are more than likely processed, and they're high in sugars and bad fats, and this really can disrupt the microbial balance in the gut. And then the unobvious stuff like lifestyle, regular physical activity, and adequate sleep support. This all is good for good, healthy guts. A sedentary lifestyle, just not out there, you're not regularly exercising, or you have poor sleep habits. These just set up a bad environment for poor microbes or bad gut health. And then stress, chronic stress, that can be just imperative for poor digestion and poor gut health. So the ideal is practice stress reducing. We have a podcast on reducing stress that I'd highly recommend you go back and check out. But we talk about mindfulness, meditation. This all benefits the gut health. And then some people think, well, I'm going to take antibiotics so I can reduce that inflammation of the gut. Well, the bad thing about antibiotics, these are prescription drugs, is that they kill not only the bad bacteria, but also the good bacteria. And the good bacteria are essential for fighting infections. So we need that balance. So if we have too many antibiotics, we just disrupts the gut microbiome. And by eliminating these beneficial bacteria along with the harmful ones, it's a bad balance. And so high fiber diet, that's another way to give your digestive system or good gut health its most effective potential. And then diverse your food. Just a range of different foods also helps. Limit ultra processed foods. We just talked about that. Drink water, high quality filtered water. And then eat foods rich in polyphenols. And these are antioxidants like berries, herbs and spices, nuts, flaxseed, vegetable, olives. And then the big thing that this is a kind of a big thing. Eat slowly. The first part of digestion is the chewing process, and you get the enzymes going and some of the digestive juices that start that process. So eating slowly certainly helps. And then Dr. Mike, I'll let you talk about the good probiotics that people can eat and a high quality probiotic supplement.
Apple cider vinegar, organic, you can get it plain, or you can get something with the mother. The mother means it has a SCOBY or a symbiotic colony of bacteria, and it has probiotics in it. And so if you shake it up or look at the bottle of apple cider vinegar that doesn't have it versus had it, it looks kind of cloudy and maybe not so good to someone if they think it should look clear. So if it has the mother is a probiotic culture in there. So you get the apple cider vinegar plus probiotics in the product. And so that's the kind that I like and use with the mother. So you mentioned pickles and yogurt and kefir and fermented foods to get probiotics. And I know you said organic, and I know you really eat clean, Dr. Gordy, but it's really, really critical, because if you just go get any run-of-the-mill pickle that has dyes, and sugar and MSG and other chemicals, you aren't going to benefit your gut with that.
Mm-mm.
And then if you aren't getting organic kefir and organic yogurts and things like that, and it has really high content. There's this really organic kefir at our farmers at our co-op that I really like. I can't remember the brand, but it's a liter kefir, and I was really kind of thirsty and kind of hungry at the same time, so I drank the whole blueberry organic kefir over a fairly short period of time. And I thought, geez, it's organic, it's healthy, it's all natural, a lot of cultures of bacteria. I looked on the back, 88 grams of sugar.
Wow.
I could have had a can of Coke and had less sugar. I mean, 80, of course, that was more than one serving, but I just drank the whole bottle, 88 grams of sugar. So did that help my gut? I don't think it did. That was too
No.
much sugar, just too much. So you really got to look at your yogurt. How much sugar is in that? Is it organic? What else is in there? Is it real fruit or is it artificial? So that's a really, really important factor, I believe, is the quality of our fermented foods as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I introduced this app on a previous podcast, but I want to just make reference to that because sometimes we're shopping and we don't always have a time to researching on an internet source what exactly is in it. We might not be familiar with the product, but there's an app called Yuka, Yuka. And if you go onto that app, you can actually go to your food item, scan the barcode, and it'll pop up exactly what's in it. So it'll tell you if there's really bad additives and preservatives. It'll tell you if there's too much sugars or too much of something bad. It'll just kind of give you a synopsis. Then it'll give you a ranking. 100 is really healthy. 100% is what you're looking for. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are really bad foods, very unhealthy. So I've used this and it actually is very effective. You scan it. Oh, yeah, this is good. I think I'll get it. So yeah, Yuka. Again, check out that app. I think it'd be good for our viewers so you can really check things out.
Yeah, that is neat.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that one, so thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, how I look at probiotics, getting back to talking about probiotics and pre and probiotic foods, I like people to think of if you're healthy and well and don't have the symptoms that we talked about prior, if you have a healthy gut, so how do you keep it healthy with a healthy diet? So prebiotics are fiber and food for our probiotics to feed on. And I like insoluble fiber things like whole grains, oatmeal, whole grain breads. Asparagus is a really good prebiotic. Leeks, onions, garlic, starchy vegetables, sweet potatoes, corn, beans, lentils, peas are also good sources. For instance, if you take a carrot and really chew on that, that's really thick. And other root vegetables and rutabagas and okra and things like that, that's a lot of fiber for our gut to chew on. I liken it as putting a piece of oak into a fireplace versus balsa wood. If we put this insoluble, really healthy fiber for our probiotics to thrive and grow, that's really, really significant. They're making drinks. I haven't tried any yet because they call them prebiotic drinks. But the liquid, I have a feeling they have a lot of sugar. I mean, it's not really insoluble fiber. I'd rather have a green smoothie as a prebiotic drink because of the fiber in the smoothie. And then, we have to limit the sugar and the saturated fats, processed foods, and then that's going to wreak havoc on the probiotics. So that's just the prebiotics versus probiotic foods, the kefirs, the homemade sauerkraut, or you can go to co-ops and health food stores to get really, really good sauerkrauts and kimchis and kefirs and yogurts. Dr. James Chestnut taught me years ago and he recommends probiotics and takes them. He says to really, really know if it's a good one, if you're having some digestive issues, if just say you aren't going to having 1 to 3 regular bowel movements, or you're having a lot of diarrhea stuff, within a week, your probiotic should make a difference if it's really, really, really quality. Is it going to fix everything from just taking a capsule? No, but if you're taking a really high potent probiotic, should stop the diarrhea. My kids, I have 3 kids, Gordy, and they haven't had a lot of gut issues, but if they did have a flu or something, we give them probiotics every half hour, and then it stops within 2 or 3 hours, and they're done and healthy and moving on, and then they keep hydrating and eating well. But I'm a big fan of having a capsule with at least 10 different strains of bacteria in it. And I like the 30 billion mark to make a difference. If it has 30 billion microorganisms per capsule and 10 plus different strains, it's usually going to make a difference. Going to make bowel movements easier, bowel movements firmer, going to help some gas and bloating and make you feel better. And if it doesn't, you need more or a different probiotic. And I can talk about different specific strains for fixing your gut. That's my standard, 10 different strains and 30 billion. You can get 100 billion per capsule. You can get massive amounts, and there's so many different varieties. And in that Netflix series, they talked about hacking your health, the science of gut health. They talked about the fecal transplants, and they talked about different probiotics, specific strains to help you lose weight and to help with your appetite. And they're really doing a lot of research for specific conditions now. So that's really exciting in the future. But for general health, 10 strains, 30 billion or more per capsule, and you should really enhance your gut health.
Mike, brilliant information. I want to summarize what people could do to just get started with this process. Just to summarize, foods that are high fiber foods, fruits, vegetable, legumes, whole grains, that contains prebiotics. Mediterranean style diet, I think, is a really good one. Eating veggies, fruits, whole grains, potatoes, beans, nuts, seeds, as long as they're healthy, organic, look for those as well. And then low to moderate amounts of dairy, eggs, fish, poultry, and prioritize olive oils as a primary source of good fats. Limit your red meats, avoid sugars and high processed foods, as well as refined carbos, and try to eliminate saturated fats. That would be my summary, Mike. And of course, the more fermented foods, the better. The supplement, of course, you just talked about that. Brilliant stuff. So I'd also recommend just a teaspoon, a little small teaspoon, put it in some water, and then drink apple cider vinegar. That also helps as well. How about you, Dr. Mike? Any parting thoughts? And what else?
I have a couple other things. There's a test called Viome, Viome, where they do a saliva test, they do a urine sample, and then they do a stool sample. So a lot of functional medical practitioners and functional doctors now are doing stool samples to really see the diversity of your microbiome. So if you're really interested in that, search out a really high quality functional medical practitioner that will do a stool sample and give you a really good readout on the health of your gut. I have a couple other things that I'd like to share. 5 food additives that wreck your gut, absolutely wreck your gut here. Number 1 is polysorbate 80. Totally, it's an emulsifier. A 2017 study found that polysorbate 80 decreases your beneficial bacteria in your gut. So where do you get polysorbate 80? It's in heavy cream, coconut milk, bottled sauces, dressings, other viscous foods. So you can have salad dressings and you can have prepared salad dressings, but you got to make sure it doesn't have polysorbate 80 in it. Number 2, carboxymethyl cellulose. It's CMC, or cellulose gum, you'll more often see on a product. And so carboxymethyl cellulose causes gut inflammation immediately. And what's in that? Where can you find that? Fruit juices, milk, cream, baby formula. Baby formula? Give me a break. Cream cheese, cottage cheese, dressings, gelatinous foods, etc. So that's a nasty one. Look for CMC or cellulose gum. The next one is an obvious one, sucralose or Splenda. And that came out on the market several years ago, and they go, oh, great, now we don't have to use the artificial sweeteners. No, wrong, it is an artificial sweetener. And so listen to this, Gordy. Rats that ate normal amounts of sucralose saw a nearly 50% decrease in beneficial gut bacteria, and also showed heightened liver enzymes, which can interfere with absorbing nutrients. and drugs. So what is Splenda found in? Diet soda, sugar-free products, protein powders, some of them, not the ones that you use, pre-workout drinks. What are alternatives? Stevia, monk fruit, xylitol. There's always something better than a chemical that wrecks our health. Always, or just leave it out. Number 4 is aspartame, NutraSweet. It's just diet sodas, diet products have aspartame. And then here's a big one, and we've talked about this in other podcasts. Bisphenol A, BPA. Bisphenol A or bisphenol S or F. So BPA, BPS, BPF. Common parts of food packaging. And also lining of metal cans and components of a lot of plastics. That's why I don't drink bottled water in plastic. And so I'm really suspicious too, Gordy. I don't know about you, if you like a LaCroix water or some kind of natural fizzy water in an aluminum can, you got to really watch out for the liner of those cans.
We already know, like, this will be one of my health tips for next week for our next program. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, you look at the plastics that line most of these to-go cups, they're lined with plastic, biphenyl plastics. And if you put a certain degree of hot temperatures, like as in coffee or tea, you're gonna be drinking plastic, because inevitably that stuff leaches from those. Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I'm with you. And then you look at aluminum cans too. How do they transport a lot of this stuff? Sometimes in severe weather conditions where it's like really hot, and you can have leaching of aluminum. And we already know that aluminum can cross the blood-brain barrier and cause much more severe things. But that's not our subject today. But yeah, I'm with you, Mike, 100%.
Yeah, basically all chemicals. You mentioned a whole list of things, exercise can be beneficial on all this, but major stress, and stress is chemicals into our body. So really got to eat clean and live clean. Otherwise, it wrecks your gut. I have 2 other studies I'd like to share. Can probiotics ease major depressive disorder is the question. Research published in JAMA Psychiatry adds more support to the importance of probiotics for mental health. The study found supplementing with probiotics led to a greater improvement in symptoms of depression compared to placebo groups, along with relieving anxiety symptoms as well. And I know you mentioned exercise in other podcasts, Dr. Gordy. So what if you just do the simple things we recommend? Exercising. And I've been using this that you said a lot. I tell people, I said, it's not about the intensity, the regularity or the consistency is more than, yeah. So consistency, I use that all the time. Number 1, start, and then just be consistent. Then you can always add, intensity and quality and all that, but got to be consistent. And it helps our mental health. It helps our brain chemistry. So can this probiotic fix your gut and hair? I looked at that when I saw hair, since I'm kind of lacking a little bit here. The probiotic bacteria Lactobacillus reuteri, reuteri, helps regulate the hormone oxytocin, a chemical messenger that plays important roles in the male and female reproductive systems and influences aspects of human behavior, including sexual arousal, recognition, trust, interpersonal bonding, and can have a significant improvement on your hair. Thicker, shinier, more lustrous, thicker dermis. And so they're getting more specific, Gordy, with different specific bacteria that can enhance things like hair and mental health, and not just healing our gut. And so that's really, really, really cool that that we can get really specific if we're having certain conditions. But I feel like I'm fairly well, so I take a overall 10 different strains, 30 billion plus, eat a lot of fiber, salads and vegetables and smoothies that you're really great at making. And I think that can really, really keep a healthy gut healthy. I'd like to close by always asking our audience, what's your number 1 takeaway that you can share with a family member at the dinner table, either tonight or tomorrow? when you're breaking bread, what's the one takeaway that you can have a discussion about how you can maybe help each other out? And then what's your number one action step that you can take today? Are you going to potentially look up the app that Dr. Gordy recommended? Are you going to maybe go talk to a professional about a probiotic for your diet and for your supplement regime? Are you going to really make a conscious effort and be consistent with adding more fiber to your diet as a prebiotic to really enhance? Are you going to cut out some of the foods that we said to cut out and the chemicals? What's your number one action step you can take starting today? So, Gordy, what's our topic next week?
Mike, I think we're going to have a lot of fun for next week's subject. Both Mike, Dr. Mike, and myself have our own personal or professional tips, health hacks or health tips that we will share. So we'll share, each one of us will have a tip, equaling out to be 20 total tips, 10 for Mike, 10 for me. Mike's not going to tell me what his is, and I'm not going to tell him what mine are. And if there's an overlay, that's fantastic. But I think it's going to be a great subject for people where they can just find stuff that we think is important in our life and maybe hopefully learn something. So that concludes our podcast for this episode. Just please subscribe. We appreciate all the viewers, and also like our content here, and feel free to comment as well. So thank you, and then we'll see you next episode.
Thank you for joining us on the Health Angle podcast. Please subscribe to our channel and catch us for our next episode.